It's your girl Sunshine here, and I wanted to do excuse me, I'm so sorry about that. I wanted to do part one of my Sinners movie review. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. I just ate something. I'm sorry, and I'm still like trying to get it down. But I apologize. I hope you guys are doing awesome. Hello to you all. It's your girl Sunshine here. Happy Friday evening. I know probably a lot of folks are going to the movies or going on dates or whatever, so you'll probably catch the playback of this video here. But I wanted to go ahead and get it started. What's up, Chris? Because this is a full Sinners movie review. So this is alert. Spoiler alert. If you have not seen the movie Sinners and you don't want any spoilers, don't watch this video. Get off right now. Go see the movie. Come back. Let's talk about it. And then you'll pretty much get it. You'll understand. But make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button for your girl. Subscribe to the channel because I'm with all the mess, okay? All right. But let's get into it, you guys. So I had to see the movie because everybody's been talking about it. And it's crazy because the beginning of the year, I saw the preview for it when I went to go see the movie with Kiki Palmer and SZA. And I was like, I don't know about that movie. That movie seems a little, I thought it was like a slave movie or something. And I don't care for slave movies. So but once I found out it wasn't a slave movie, it was more of a spiritual type movie, I was like, okay, I can get into that. And if you don't know, the movie just came out last Friday, and the movie has been selling like, I mean, it's been killing it at the box office. Okay. People are talking about going to see it 2 and 3 times by this time already. So the movie is definitely a good movie. I would give it five. I would give it 5 stars. So, what is the name? Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler is the director for this movie, Sinners. Now, this movie includes Michael B. Jordan and some other people. I should have got their names and stuff. Oh my goodness. I'm so not prepared. I'm never all the way prepared. But anyway, like I said, this is part one. So part two, I'll just come back with that. Anyway, so this was a great movie. Now, if you don't know, Ryan Coogler, he did the movie Black Panther. Now, when Black Panther came out, y'all, on day one, I had already pre-ordered my tickets for me and my family. Okay. I got my whole household tickets. My children, me and my husband went, and also my sister and my brother-in-law also went. We all went to the movie theater, so they weren't in my household, but a lot of my family members, we all went to see the movie The Black Panther when it came out in the movie theater. Now, I like the Black Panther movie. I would give it a 3.5 stars because I didn't like how Killmonger couldn't kill or delete. Okay, that's his name, Kill, so I probably shouldn't be saying it, but Michael B. Jordan's name in the Black Panther was Killmonger. And he wasn't allowed to get his, do his thing in there. And I really felt like, why? Like all the other Marvel movies have they get rid of, delete the people all day and night. I was like, I wanted to see Killmonger. I feel like still Killmonger needs his own movie. Okay, they just need to give him a whole movie all by itself. Just make him a whole Marvel character. I'll definitely go see that. But I didn't like that. That was my main thing. My main reason for not liking the Black Panther. I felt like they cut him off from it and it took away from the movie. It was too like given and too Like, oh, we just want love and peace, and life isn't like that. So I wanted to see some realness in it. I wanted to see Killmonger do his thing, but they didn't give us that. So for that, I had to give the movie Black Panther a 3.5. You can take it how you want to. This is just my opinion, okay? So the movie Sinners, y'all. Great movie. Like I said, I give this a 5 star. Okay, a 5 star. 5 stars. 5 stars. And I just went to see it. So I, of course, don't. Sometimes you have to see a movie a couple of times to get all of to make sure you get everything, right? So it's definitely something I want to see again, but I'm not about to go pay $12 more to go see this movie again. Not unless somebody else want to pay it, and then I'll go see it. But definitely was a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, okay? Michael B. Jordan did his thing, okay? Ryan Coogler, everybody's talking about him. Okay, I'm seeing it all over social media. Everyone's doing the interviews with him. He's been on the Breakfast Club. He's been on so many platforms. Even before the movie came out 2 weeks ago, they started doing a lot of the interviews. But this director, Ryan Coogler, is awesome. Awesome. The way he did it, I felt like he took pointers from the Black Panther movie and made this movie even better. Now, Brian Coogler also did the movie The Fruitvale Station, which I believe Michael B. Jordan was in that movie as well. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But I like that movie. It was real sad because it was based off a true story about a young man getting deleted by police officers at the train station. But you could definitely check that out as well. That was a good movie. Of course, it was just sad because it was based off a true story that just happened to be a very tragic situation. But I like how Ryan Coogler in this movie Sinners, he didn't make it predictable. It wasn't predictable. I can't stand a predictable movie, y'all. If I spend my money on a predictable movie, I'm upset. Okay? He did not make this movie predictable at all. This was not a movie that you could predict the ending or even how the storyline was going to go, because I was waiting. I was waiting for it, like, okay, all right, it's going nice. So when is it going to happen? And then all of a sudden it was like doom, and it was like, oh, and it got real serious. Okay. But anyway, let's get into it. So, from the beginning of the movie, it started off with Michael B. Jordan. He played two parts. He was a twin, and he played both twins in the movie the whole time. This was awesome. Okay. Now, usually when you see a person playing twins and there's just one person playing the twins, usually it's kind of like cut and paste almost. It doesn't really fit. It doesn't really look right. But Michael B. Jordan did his thing, man. Oh my goodness. Like, I could hug him and kiss him because he's just so luscious. Oh my goodness. Let's just give him a moment for that. Oh my goodness. Anyway, back to the story, right? So Michael B. Jordan played twins. He played a set of twins, Stack, and Smoke. So Stack was the twin that was more of, you can persuade him to get some things done. Now, he didn't play though. Okay, he did not play, but if your money was right, he'll entertain the idea of something. That's pretty much who Stack was. Smoke was the type that was like about business from get-go. From, like, he was the analytical one. He was the one who was pretty much like, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, and we just getting it up out of here. Stack was the one who play around with the idea if the money is right. Smoke was like, nah, we're not doing that. Let's cancel that. Move on. So I like how the twins weren't like opposites of each other. They were not predictable. It wasn't like a good bad cop, a good bad twin. No, they both were pretty much the same. It's just that with Stack, like I said, Stack was the one who was like, here, entertain the idea if the money is right. Smoke was like, nah, straight up. That's what we doing. This is what we doing. That's it, and that's all. So it started off with Stack and Smoke, them coming back from Chicago. So they were born in Mississippi. That was their hometown. They had been gone for a long time. I don't believe they told how long they were gone in Chicago, but they went to Chicago. I believe they were bank robbers. It was kind of like suggested, but not really like, okay, this is what you do. But I believe they were like bank robbers or just like robbers and like thieves or whatever. And it seems like they had just came from, excuse me, Chicago. They had got into some mess up there, came into some dollars somehow, came back and brought booze, liquor, and some weapons as well. And they wanted to start a juke joint in their hometown. So they came back home. Nobody really knew they was home or was coming back, so they didn't let anyone know. They came down, and we saw them in a car, but they already had a truck full of booze and weapons parked in the woods somewhere, right? So they go pick up their cousin Sammy. So Sammy is the preacher's kid. So Sammy's dad is like, okay, I don't, you shouldn't be messing around out there singing all that secular music, playing around out there in them streets and them clubs and stuff with them drunkards. You know, you need to stay in the church. So Sammy's dad, which is the uncle of Stack and Smoke, because their Stack and Smoke's father was Sammy's dad brother. He was his oldest brother. And so you didn't really see them interact with the uncle too much. So Sammy was at the church with his dad when Stack and Smoke picked him up. Now they picked him up and he jumped in their car, and I can't remember which one, Stack or Smoke, was like, all right, we got him. We gonna take care of him or whatever. And then they rolled out, right? So they went to go look at that truck they had with the alcohol and stuff, alcohol and the weapons. And then I believe it was Stack who took the alcohol and the weapons. And then Smoke and Sammy stayed together. So Stack, he took the truck so he could go get all the business together because they were opening up the juke joint that night. Now Stack was like, I think we should wait till next week to get this to open up the juke joint. But Smoke was like, nah, we doing that tonight. Okay, nah, it's going down tonight. So Stack was like, all right, okay, whatever. Or bet, right? So Stack went and handled his business, which was getting the food, getting the sign prepared, and yeah, rounding everything up, getting someone to cook the food and for the juke joint so people can have alcohol and food. And then Smoke and Sammy, they went to go find like the entertainment. So on the way to find entertainment, Smoke realized that Sammy could actually sing. So he started playing with his guitar in the car. And it's crazy because I believe, was that Stack? Okay, so my bad. So Stack was the one who went with Sammy and which was the younger cousin, and then Smoke was the one who went to gather all the food and everything they needed for the juke joint. So Smoke went to go get the food. Stack and Sammy went to go get the entertainment. So Stack told Sammy that the guitar he had got him they had got him before they left to go to Chicago was actually from some famous guitar player. So Sammy was just like in awe. He was just like, "Oh my goodness, this is from whoever the guitar player was." He was so happy, and that made him ready to play the guitar and perform at the juke joint, which would have been the first time Stack and Smoke had ever heard him play or seen him play or anything. So they went to go pick up notifications coming up on my phone. So Stack and Sammy went to go pick up this guy named Cornbread. So Cornbread was this big, they were going with this, but by the time they got to the juke joint, and again, this is my movie review for the movie Sinners. Hello, Dwight. How are you? Yes. So, Stack and Sammy, they went to go pick up, the entertainment and get the people together, and then Slack, he went to go get the food and stuff. So, um, Smoke was like, what's the Smoke? Now I'm about to get them mixed up. Trying to figure out which was which. Okay. Anyway, so I'm gonna just say Michael B. Jordan. Okay, so Michael B. Jordan and Sammy, they went to get this guy. They stopped off at the cotton fields, and they went and got this big guy, and his name was Cornbread. They called him Cornbread. So Cornbread was like, "Nah, I ain't fooling with y'all twins, cause y'all don't know how to act. Y'all be getting into mess." And Slack was like, "Nah, we good. Nah, come on, come to the club. We'll pay you a lot of money, and your woman, she'll like that, and she probably pleasure you more with a pocket full of money, right?" So his wife was there out there picking cotton as well. And she was like, baby, how much money they talking about? Okay, yeah, go and get that money. We'll be good. All right. So, and I'm saying that, I'm bringing that up because it's a very important part of the movie, with Stack and Smoke going to grab people and bring these people into this establishment that they just purchased. Okay. So, speaking of just purchase, so before they did the pickup and before they got Sammy, the cousin, Stack and Smoke, they purchased this land and this barn, and this is how they got the juke joint. So it was this white guy that they purchased the land and the juke joint from. So he came off, real, what y'all boys doing here, and do y'all boys got the money, that type of southern hospitality, right? So they were pretty much like, "Oh, well, we got guns too, but you want this money, we can go ahead and get this deal signed." So that's how they end up getting the property, because like I said, they had just got back from Chicago that day, seems like. So anyway, so they go pick up Sammy, they get Cornbread. So Smoke also went and got a blues player who was playing a harmonica and like singing blues at the train station. So this was an older guy. I believe his name was Delta Slim. So Delta Slim was like the older gentleman, and he was like well respected. Everybody respected him. Everybody was very respectful in the movie. I like how Smoke and Stat weren't like over sexualized. Like they weren't just like, "Oh, where the women at? Where the, let's get it in, let's get it on," or whatever. I like how they were pretty much money focused. They were focused on their money. It wasn't all about them trying to get with different women and stuff. You know how Michael B. Jordan looks, so you already know. that character alone is gonna pull who he want to pull anyway. So it wasn't no need to be all over sexualized. I love that part about the movie. I really love that. So anyway, so they go pick up Delta Slim, and Delta Slim is, like I said, he's the elder, right? So he's telling the story to Sammy about his brother, because they had drove past some people on the chain gang, like prisoners. They drove past prisoners, and Delta Slim, he had yelled out something to the prisoners, and then the prison guard who was on the horse, he like shot in the air with his shotgun to get the prisoners back on track. So I can't remember what he said. He yelled something to them like, hold your head up, or something like, keep your head up. I guess saying, keep going and be a fighter. Whew, child, oh my goodness. Can I just talk about that for a minute here? Okay? Being a fighter. Let me tell you. So, off topic, me and my mom was having a conversation because, of course, my mom would be considered the elder, right? So she was telling me she was watching this movie, one of Tyler Perry movies. So y'all already know it got that whole little slave connotation going on there. And she was saying how, you know, black people had to be like real calm and like reserved, and we had to be like oh, I can't get the word, like real quiet and well mannered acting, even though the white race didn't have to do all that. They were able to be animals to us, and threaten us and to call us all out our names, and we had to be polite and and be reserved and everything. And my mom was saying how, see how because there was a scene in the movie or the TV show that my mom was watching, and the black guy, he had got beat up by two white boys, and he couldn't fight back, even though he could have clearly beat both of them, but he couldn't fight back because he probably would have got killed or lynched or something. And so my mom was saying how, see, we had to be like that to show them that we couldn't, that, they're not better than us. And, I was thinking like, but that's not right, because they just gonna continue to do it anyway. And this is a war that we out here, or that is going on in the world. And if we don't fight the war with war, where's that gonna leave us? And my mom was saying that, well, that would have killed a lot of people off. And I was thinking, well, in the battlefield, in war, you do lose a lot of people. But see, the thinking of an older person versus a younger person, and I'm not that young. I don't know how a person younger than me would take something like that, because I haven't even really had those types of conversations with my children to even find out, would they fight? Would they be a fighter, or would they be one that just sit there and get beat up and get spit on and everything like that? I just feel like in my spirit, I would have been gone. I would have been deleted, because you're not about to jump on me and I'm just going to lay there and take it. I've always been a fighter. I'm a fighter. And that's just, I feel like when you fighting in a war, when it's a battle, when it's a fight, if you're the one who's just going to get beat up, you're going to get used. You're going to get abused. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get probably deleted anyway. So why not fight? So anyway, Delta Slim was telling Sammy a story, because Sammy is the youngest one in the movie. Well, he is the youngest one in this bunch, right? So he told him. So Sammy asked Delta Slim, which was the older guy who plays the blues and all. He said, "So did you have to be on a chain gang or something?" And Delta Slim was like, "No, let me tell you what happened." he said we had got a record deal. Him and his brother, he said, they got a record deal. And they played this big mansion. They played in this big mansion and received all this money for them playing, doing the gig there. And they were going to go on tour, or they went on tour. And after they played, they were just traveling, and they got stopped by these white people. And the white people, beat up the brother because the brother was holding on to the money. They were going to use that money to open like a store or something and sell, or a bar or something, a bar or a store or something like that. And they got pulled over by a white guy, and the white guy ended up beating up the brother and taking his money. And then I guess the police came, and then the white guy told the police that the black guy had deleted someone he know or something. He told the police that he was a deleter. Okay. And so the police end up lynching him right there in the town and castrated him and took the money that he had on him. So Delta Slim saw this. Now they just been on tour playing for white folks, white folks up there dancing to their songs, singing their songs. They were good enough to play music in their homes and entertain them. But, when it came to just taking advantage of them, they can do that easily because, that was the thing to do. They could get away with it, right? Who's going to fight them back? You know, the brother didn't fight back. And he probably couldn't. He probably was, outnumbered or something. So anyway, he ended up getting lynched right there in town, and Delta Slam had to see it, and they castrated him. And I like the fact that Ryan Coogler said those words, that the guy was lynched, that he was lynched in town so everyone could see, and also that they castrated him because this was a real thing. Can you imagine? Can you even imagine? Let me cook, okay? Let me cook. That's my platform. I'm a cook. Can you imagine being somewhere and someone calls you out your name? I don't care what race you are. Just think about it, okay? Let's see, do it make sense? Can you imagine someone calling you out your name and the police coming and taking you and lynching you, hanging you by your neck in front of the whole town to see, and then pulling your pants down and cutting off your man part? Can you imagine seeing that? Seeing something like that? That's crazy to me. That's inhumane to me. But this was a thing that actually went on. So the fact that Ryan Coogler didn't hide that, he didn't sugarcoat it, he said it. And I like the fact that when Delta Slim was telling the story about his brother being lynched and castrated in the town, they didn't show it. I love that. That to me, that was genius. Okay. And I say that because to some people, that could be considered like a type of porn or corn. Can I say porn? I'm sorry. That could be considered like a type of corn with the P, not the C, but the P. Because, some people like to see certain things. Like, let's say if someone liked children in a way they shouldn't like children, they see children, it's going to turn them on. This was almost like the same thing. And just to mind you, this video is for adults only. If you're under the age of 21, please get off my platform, because anything I post, I don't care if it has children in it, it's always for adults on here. So this is only for the mature audience here. I should have made that disclaimer earlier, but I'm making it now. But anyway, so yeah, hold on. So yeah, so I like the fact that they didn't Ryan Coogler, the director, he didn't show the images of the brother being lynched and castrated, but he played the sounds because we all know what that looks like. We don't need a picture, another picture or a video of that. I can't stand a slave movie. Who I can't, boy, I tell you. I can't stand the movie because I feel like it should have been more fight versus being submissive. But that's just me. That's just me. And like I said, I understand I wouldn't have been here long, but whatever. And I'll come back in my next life and we'll do it all over again and see what y'all up to because not me. I'm not about to deal with that. But whatever. I feel like that's why we are in us. When I say we, I mean black people are in the situation we're in now. It's because we didn't fight. But maybe the older generation didn't understand that. In a war, there's wins and losses. Some people gotta go. And if you're going for a good cause, then you might as well go out for a good cause. I mean, and think about it, a lot of the greats who attempted to save us anyway, they were taken out. So it's like they were going to go anyway. You might as well go out with a bang. Take a whole bunch of them down, and that leads me to the good part of the ending of this movie here. But I ain't gonna get into it right now because we still in the beginning. Okay, now all of this is probably within like the first 5-10 minutes of the movie. Matter of fact, okay, and we already got this going on and the flow is just natural. It makes sense, everything is aligning well, and the movie is like on point. So when Delta Slim was telling his story, you can feel the hurt and pain that caused him to see his brother being lynched in front of him and castrated, and it was nothing he could do. So when he was telling the story, of course, Slack and Sammy were quiet. They were like, you couldn't hear nothing but Delta Slim. He was just telling his story. And in the process of telling his story, he just broke out into like humming. And it made me feel like that music with the pain, y'all. Whew, give me a moment. Because music can be so freaking healing for your soul, right? You ever went through something so deep and you found a song to attach yourself to, and then it's like, I'm okay. I got this. I can get through this because of that song, because of that beat, because of the rhythm in the song. So Delta Slim, he's telling the story and he's like, I mean, he is just like that humming just felt like I felt that because it was just like a spiritual, a soulful hum, but it's like the regular beat that we always hear in R&B music and gospel music and rap and R&B. It's that same type of spiritual beat that we're so used to hearing anyway in our music. But once he did that, it was so powerful. Slack told Sammy to go ahead and play the guitar so he could bring it all together, and then they pretty much just put a song together, and it was just like soulful. It was hitting. It was a banger, right? So anyway, so they get to the club and they're setting up everything, whatever. And let me make sure I'm not missing anything. So that's Sammy and Smoke. Uh, oh, so it's another part I'm almost missed. So Slack, he had when he got Delta Slim, Delta Slim was like I said, this was an older cat, okay? This old school right here. If you know, you know, right? So Delta Slim was like, Slack was like, yeah, I need you to play at my juke joint tonight. I just got a juke joint. I need you to play. I'll pay you $20. So Delta Slim was like, nah, I'm already played down at such and such club, and I don't get paid $20 a night, but you're just gonna pay me $20 for tonight. We don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow night and the night after that and after that, because the club I work at, they done been here 10 years. And I've been playing there for 10 years. And they'll probably be here for 10 more years. And he was like, he might not even be here to make it 10 more years, but that he can guarantee that club being open. So he didn't want to risk playing one night at Slack and Smoke's juke joint just to get $20 for one night. So Slack was like, well, I'll pay you $40 for tonight and give you all the alcohol that you can handle. And so Delta Slim, he was like, all right, bet. Like, let's do this. Okay. So I brought that back up because I forgot to mention that before they got in the car and Delta Slim told his story. But it's so important because a lot of times the dealer seems so good, a dealer seems so good that we'll take that deal and go with it and don't even think about, is this the right thing to do? Now, Delta Slim, he did question it, and he had an objection. He said, no, I don't get paid $20 where I'm working at now, but I can guarantee them to be there. Now, with you ain't guaranteed to have this business the day after tomorrow or so on and so on, right? But he took that choice because pretty much like he's an alcoholic. So he has a habit. And Slack already knew he has a habit. So I'm going to pay you $40 a night and give you all the alcohol you could drink because you're an addict, you drink anyway. So now you get to take alcohol home or whatever, drink it all night, and you get $40 in your pocket, at least for tonight. So Delta Slim had to make that choice. It reminds me of Cornbread. He had to make that choice. Now, Cornbread was like, he didn't want to go. He was like, I ain't fooling with y'all because I know what y'all about. I know y'all always in some mess and stuff. But his wife was like, nah, we need that money, bro. You need to go ahead and make that money. And that's the lesson right there all by itself, because a lot of times we'll do things for money and it doesn't mean it's the right thing, but I guess it's convenient or it puts a little money in your pocket, but is it the right thing to do though? Is it the right thing for you? Like, so let's say, for example, you work on a job. Now, that job isn't going anywhere. They done been in business for however long, and you accept that position, but you want to start your own business, right? But you're like, I never started my own business before. Should I do that? Can I do that? So now you're doubting yourself and you got to weigh the two out. Should I start my own business or should I just stay here? And it's like you pretty much got to judge, which one is the best thing to do. When you judge stuff like that, you really need to weigh it out and figure out, okay, am I going to be happy if I stay here? If I stay on this job, or should I start my own business and at least be proud that I started my own business? So like with these people, Delta Slim and Cornbread, they had to make that decision. What am I going to do? Is it worth it to risk it? And they risked it. So we'll talk about later what happened, but I'm just bringing that point up because it's going to be a real pivotal point at the end of the movie. So anyway, Smoke, he went to go see his ex, I believe. They didn't say they were married, but the ex had a baby and the baby passed away. So they had that in common. Once that happened, I guess the woman who was Smoke's ex, she gave him like a protection bag, and the protection bag has been keeping him in good spirits and keeping him out of trouble, because obviously he was able to go to Chicago and get into a whole lot of mess and come back home and open the juke joint and all. So he felt protected, and she took the little protection bag, which was like a voodoo bag or a protection. It's a protection bag. Pretty much that's what it is. So she took the bag, and then I guess she wanted to like refresh it, right? So they showed her in the process of working at her altar. Now, mind you, she has a spirit shop, so that's where he went to go visit her at. I guess this was her home slash her spiritual shop, and you see her at her altar doing a prayer, pouring out libations, putting a little of this, a little of that together to make sure that she creates this little protection pouch for a Smoke. I put them together and call them Smack. Oh my goodness, that's so crazy. For Smoke to wear to protect him. So anyway, these children came in the store and they wanted to buy some stuff. So they paid her, the ex, they paid her with fake money. It looked like a piece of paper. It looked like an advertisement, a newspaper or something. I don't know. I didn't really understand what that was, but it wasn't money. So she accepted it just like it was money. So Smoke was trying to give her some real cash, like a whole bunch of it. And she was like, "No, I don't want your blood money." And he was like, "Well, it's all blood money." And she was like, "But no, I don't want that money because I know it's dirty." And he was like, "So you're going to take fake money?" And she was like, "Well, that's all they had to give, so I'm just going to accept that." And he was like, "Nah, that don't make sense. That don't make sense at all." So anyway, so she accepted the fake money from the children, and her and Smoke end up having a moment. They end up having intercourse. So and then he asked her to cook at the juke joint. So she, of course, was willing to do that because he did tell her that he loved her. She asked if he still cared for her, and he said yes. So you know how we are women. We like, oh, that's the one I love anyway. Okay, yeah, he can get it, whatever. Anyway, so I thought that was cool because that was the black lady who played in the movie. I think her name is Woonsoon. I didn't know she was African, but she played in the movie Lovecraft Country. That well, that wasn't a movie. That was a series. That was a great series, y'all. That was awesome. I wish they would bring that back. But anyway, she played in that movie. So they finally get to the juke joint, right? So they at the juke joint and they setting up. So there was this guy, his name was Remick. He's the vampire, right? So the juke joints getting set up, and then they introduce Remick. So Remick is the vampire. He comes out of nowhere like he's on fire. Now I know why he's on fire. Oh my goodness. I didn't understand why he was on fire before, but now I know. So he comes, his whole body is burning. So it's like he was, I guess, coming from out the cotton fields. His whole fire, because he didn't have a shirt on. He's burnt all on his skin and face and everything. And he's like begging this couple to let him in. Now he's a white guy. The couple whose house he goes to and he knocks on their door, they're white also. So he sees a KKK robe in the background, and I guess he automatically knew, oh, I can get them. I can get in there easily. I'm white, they're white. We're one. So we look out for each other. And that's a common thing because black people do the same thing. Like if you my brother or sister and you need some assistance, I'm probably going to let you in. Now if you're not of my race, I'm probably gonna look at you sideways because who are you? Where did you come from? I don't know you like that, you know. But when it's familiar, I understand. So they allowed him to come in. Like I said, this was a couple. So he goes in the back. The wife stays in the front. Then they get another, there's another knock at the door, and it's these group of like Native Americans, like Indians, right? They come to the door and they're like, ma'am, because the wife answered the door, the husband and Remick, the vampire, are in the backs. But the wife doesn't know that Remick is the vampire. She just let him in because, you know, he was a white guy begging for help. So the Indians come, or the Native Americans come, and they knock on her door, and she's like, "What?" She has a gun. The gun is drawn. She's like, "What you want?" And they're like, "Ma'am, we believe there's a guy here, but he's not a good guy. It's a evil person, like a bad person. We want to get him up out your house for you. We want to take him away." And she was like, "No one's here." And he's like, "But ma'am, if you have somebody in there," because they know where the man went because they had been chasing him. So, of course, he was a vampire. That's why he was all burned up. And it was kind of like the sun was going down, so it was still a little daylight out. So, you know, the daylight's supposed to burn their skin. So that's why he was all burned up. But anyway, so the Indians was like, so, or Native American, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive to anyone. But they were like, ma'am, you have a person, and we believe you have a person in your house that's bad. He's not good. And, you know, we can handle that. She's like, we don't have anyone here. So they like, all right. So they look around. The sun's going down. It's about to set. And so they said, all right. All right. Well, you have a good night. Sorry about that. Sorry about bothering you. So they leave. I love the fact that they didn't beg and, ma'am, you have a killer in there or a deleter in there. He's probably going to hurt you. Please let us in to help you. I like how they didn't do that because in a lot of movies, they do that. Usually it's us, the black people, who are like trying to be the savior for everyone. And then they end up getting hurt because they up here trying to save folks when they should have been trying to save themselves. But the Native Americans, they got up out of there real quick. They was like, we ain't with it. Okay. We tried, they asked twice. I believe they asked 2 times, maybe 3. And they was like, all right, peace. Like, we out. Because we not with this. If you ain't with it, I ain't with it. So if you with it, then whatever, okay? Then you now, you know, you on your own with them. And you're gonna have to find out the hard way. So anyway, the wife goes back in the back to see what they're up to or what's going on. And she see that Remick, the vampire, had done bit her husband, and her husband was laying on the ground. And then he gets up, and now he's the vampire. She's screaming. And matter of fact, it was a crib in that room that they were in, but they didn't show us a baby. I just thought about that. But anyway, so I guess Remick done turn all them into vampires. So they're at the, so then they go back to the juke joint, right? So at the juke joint, Cornbread is the bouncer. So he's at the door. He's making sure people pay to get in, or people, whoever not supposed to be in is not supposed to be in. That's his job. So um smoke baby mama, or his ex-girlfriend, she's cooking. She's at the bar, and she's pretty much cooking and accepting money and all. So she was accepting money from, you know, everybody who was there. And Smoke saw that she was accepting some wooden nickels or wooden coins or something. And he got on her real quick. After the people paid for their drinks, he was like, come here, we need to meet in the back. So Smoke and Stat, met with the ex. They went in the back, and Smoke was talking to them, and he was like, "Nah, we can't be accepting this now. This ain't gonna make us no money." He was on it real quick. He was like, "Nah, don't do that." And Slap was like, "Come on now." And the ex was like, "No, this is the people currency that they have." So Slack was like, "Well, let's just Stack was like, this they currency, let's just let it just go with the flow. This all the money they have. This is what they working with. So we just have to, deal with it." And Smoke wasn't with it, but he ended up agreeing to it, and he was like, "Whatever, we'll find another way to make the money or make some money, right?" Because they were supposed to be in the business. They're in the business of making money, not just accepting anything. And that's very important. That's a lesson all by itself, because a lot of times we have businesses, or people have a business, and they'll accept anything. Now, I understand they come in, they was in Chicago for however long, people using real money. Then they had to come back to Mississippi, where it's like the bottom. It's like people working in cotton fields. So they ain't really got no money like that. So it's a different type of currency. It's probably the barter system is worked out there. So they both had to realize that, we are coming back home, and this ain't a place we just gonna blow up and make a whole bunch of money, because these people ain't got no money like that, right? So Stat was just trying to tell Smoke, like, this is the people home. Okay, let them come here to the bar so they could just release, have a good time, feel free. And they mentioned being free or feeling free in the movie a couple of times. And I'm going to get into that later on as well. But so Smoke was like, okay, whatever. So anyway, so Delta Slim, he starts playing the harmonica. The crowd is loving it. Sammy, the young buck, when they went to go pick up Delta Slim, he saw this woman who was, I guess, a little older than him, and she was also married. But I guess he had been eyeing her because he knew that she could sing, and he invited her to the juke joint. So she was like, "I might come, whatever." And he was like, "Well, I hope to see you there." So she ended up coming to the juke joint. So Sammy, when he saw her coming, he already knew she was there for him. And she was, because they end up going in the back and getting right. And I was thinking, this woman is a married woman, but she chose to go to the club to get with this young boy just to have a night of pleasure. Now that's like what, the third person who done went against their right thought to not do something, but they did it anyway, right? That's Cornbread, the married woman, and and mind you, the movie is called Sinners. And I get it now why it's called Sinners, because people are just doing whatever they want to do, you know, just living their life, you know. Now, why is the smoke detector going on? What is going on? Hold on, y'all. I gotta go see what's going on real quick. Sorry about that, y'all. Oh my goodness. Okay, so but yeah, so just think about it. Now we got these people doing things that they know is not right, but they're thinking, I'm gonna have a night of pleasure or it's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna just do it anyway. Let's go with the flow. Okay, let's get it. We free. So let's get it done. They kept saying in the movie that in the movie Sinners that they were free. I heard that term or that word a lot, a lot. Let's see here. What else? So yeah, Sammy, the young guy, he was messing with the married woman in the club. So and after that, y'all, after he messed with her, she just started singing and dancing and put on a whole show for free. They didn't even have to pay her. So she was up there performing and doing her thing and everything. And it was like, oh, okay, this what you do? So anyway, cornbread at the door, and this supposed to be mulatto, biracial woman came in. She looked white to me, but I think they were trying to make her look biracial, even though they could have got a real biracial person to play her role. But I don't know. Anyway, she was like her great grandparent or her grandparent was half black or something. Anyway, so I guess she had some black in her, but she was into stack. She was in the stack real heavy. But for some, he said he didn't want to mess with her because she was white, and that could get him and her in trouble. And also, he said that she had married a white man, and but she was down there visiting because her mom had just passed away, so she came to bury her mom. On that day she was going to go back home, but then she saw Stack, and she was already in love with Stack. She said she had waited so long for him, he never came back. She grew up and ended up getting married to a white man, and that wasn't the life she wanted to live. She wanted to be with Stack, but Stack wasn't with it. Stack wanted to do what he wanted to do. He was all about his paper. So him and his brother went to Chicago to make some money, and then they came back home. Once she saw him, it was over. So she heard about the juke joint. So she came to the juke joint, and Cornbread let her in. So Cornbread, I guess they all grew up together. Cornbread said, Annie, that's you? And she was like, yeah, it's me. He was like, oh, girl, come here. He gave her a hug and let her in. So Stack wasn't happy that she was let in there, but they ended up letting her stay. They didn't make her leave. He was trying to force her out, but she wouldn't leave, and he was just like, to hell with it, whatever. And I like how both Stack and Smoke, even though they both were Michael B. Jordan, he played both parts. I like how they wasn't over sexualizing the women in there. I just love stuff like that because when stuff is, it's like it was a lot of temptations in the movie, but the main thing wasn't like rugs and sex. Can I say it like that? It was more like they were money hungry. So they were pulling off this, they had all this good, fine beer and liquor from that they got from Chicago, and they were bringing it back to Mississippi. And, they wanted to get people to buy it so they could make some money. So, they were all about making this money. That's pretty much what the movie was about. It wasn't all about them messing with a whole bunch of different women. I like that. When Smoke, when he saw his ex woman, who they shared the child together, but the child passed away. When he saw her, it was all about her. That's it, and that's all. You didn't see him with 10 other women in there, not even one other woman. He wasn't flirting with nobody. I love that because nowadays that shows the realness. Because I believe, I don't know, I wasn't back in the 1930s because I believe this was based off 1932. But I love the fact how the men were like loyal to a woman, because nowadays we don't have that so much. I mean, we have it, but on a bigger scale, it's more like, oh, I could be with whoever, whenever. And that goes for both the men and women. I'm not going to just put that on the men, but I noticed that. It is harder to find a man who wants to be in a relationship. In my opinion, I am a single woman. So that's coming from, my mindset being in the position that I'm in. But those guys, Smoke and Stack, they were, Stack knew that the mulatto woman or the biracial woman liked him. So, he kind of pretty much was like, I'm gonna keep my eye out on her. I want her, but I know we shouldn't be together. But I'm gonna be with her. I'm gonna be with her. So you didn't see him with another woman. So it wasn't no drama there. She didn't have to fight another woman in the movie to get his attention or anything. I love that, and I believe, historically speaking, that the marriage rate was bigger then versus now. Now that it's a lot to say about that too, because back then, men did have the right to marry younger women, so they chose young women. A lot of times they chose younger women or young girls to marry back then. So, of course, they'll be willing to marry someone they can control. Anyway, I'm not quite sure. I shouldn't even got into that because that could start a whole lot of smoke. But I do like how, Michael B. Jordan didn't play a role where he was like a pimp or messing with a whole bunch of different women. I really like that a lot. So Remick, who was the vampire, I believe he was of Irish descent. So, Remick, the vampire, of course, he made that family, that husband and wife, he made them vampires also, right? So they come to the club and they try to get in, but when Cornbread saw them, he was like, nah, hold up here, hold up, player. Hold up. He was like, nah, y'all can't come in. So he told one of the people who was standing next to him or talking to him at the door, because he was the bouncer, that was his job, to be at the door. He told that person to go get the twins. So the twins come, and then the two, Annie, the biracial chick, and then the ex came, and they all, and Delta Slim and Sammy, they all standing at the door and they looking at them like, what y'all want? Is they pretty much shocked that the white people weren't trying to bogart themselves in. So they knew something wasn't right. It didn't feel right because, usually during this time, white people had the right to just bogart themselves in your house, and you'll be the one to be taken to jail, if you're black, right? So that was weird. And they were standing there like in amazement, like, what's going on? Because the white people were standing at the door and they were pretty much like asking to come in. And it was like, nah, this ain't the type of club for you. So Remick, of course, he was the leader because he the lead vampire. It's him, and then he got the husband and wife beside him. He said, so no, we just want to come and we just want to be amongst y'all, because we're all like family. We're all cool, you know. And he was like, we just want to play, we just want to drink and, fellowship or, sing and dance just like everybody else doing. And Stack and Smoke was like, nah, I think y'all be better suited for the bar down the road. And they were like, but hold up, wait, we play instruments and all. So they all had like a fiddle and like fiddles and stuff, and they were just playing their little playing their little music and stuff, right? And when they was playing the music, none of them was feeling it. They was like, nah, uh-uh. That ain't gonna work in here. So nah, I think y'all should go down the road. So that's what Stack and Smoke, they stuck with that. They stood on business. They was like, nah, y'all need to take that on down the road to the next bar or whatever. And they were like, oh, well, we'll walk slow just in case y'all want to change our mind because, we want to party just like y'all. We just want to be a part. So it's a message in that part too, because to me, I felt like there was a message there because it's like once you let them in, then they're going to take over and they're going to infect, and then everything's going to change. It to me, it's like segregation. Okay, now I wasn't back in the Jim Crow days, but we all know the stories. Okay, you can take it how you want to take it, but I feel like because of the segregation, bringing everybody together is why the black people are still the weakest in the weakest position that we're in. Now we don't have to be in this weak position, but we are currently playing the weakest role right now, right? We're being the submissive one when it comes to a race of people. Like we're pretty much like the only submissive race there is. Okay? And we created a lot of stuff, or our ancestors have created a lot of stuff here before America was even America. And then once it got called America, we created a lot of stuff then. And, we're still the submissive race. But there's a message there because Remick and his other vampires, they wanted to get in that club so bad. But it's like, why you want to come in here when you could go down the street and be with people that look like you? But they didn't want that. They wanted to get into that club and get in there. So it's like, but that didn't sit right because the ex-girlfriend, the black lady, she was like, mm-mm, like something ain't right. And then so that made Stack and Smoke be like, nah, no, we can't do that. Cause everybody was in agreement, like, nah, that don't feel it, something is not right. Right? Because y'all normally don't want to come dance and congregate with us. So nah, don't try to do that now. That's weird. Go on about your business. So they leave, and then they pretty much everybody pretty much let it go except for Annie, the biracial chick. So she tells Stack that, I bet they have some money. I could go see if they got some money. And, because I know you could really use some money. She knows Stack and Smoke all about their paper. Well, Stack is all about their paper. Smoke ain't with the mess now. Smoke is the analytical one. So he's thinking about do this and that makes sense. Stack could probably take a chance and get herself hurt, which is what happened. So he agrees with Annie, and he tells her to go out there and talk to him and see what they got going on, see if they got any paper, we'll take it from there. So Annie um, goes out there and talks to them, and, the Remick, the main vampire, he's like, I could tell you're going through some hurt and pain. Like you're really hurting. You look like you're happy, but you're actually really hurting inside. And so he found a way to relate to Annie and mind you, Annie mom just passed away. That's why she was there visiting. So she's like, oh my goodness, yes. She was like, her mom just passed away. So she is going through some hurtful times right now, some hard times. It is real hard for her. So he's like, oh, well, let me play some. He was like, so Remick, the main vampire, he was like, oh, well, let's play a song for her. So they play that little fiddle and stuff, and they playing the song. And I really want to go back and hear the words of the song that they were singing because it's hard to catch everything when a whole bunch of stuff is being thrown at you in a movie. But I'm pretty sure the words were very important, but I wasn't able to get the words right. So yeah, I'm going into great detail. That's why I said it will be a part two of this Sinners movie review that I'm doing here. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel here because I'm with all the mess. Okay, I watch the movies. I'm looking at the celebrities. I'm giving you everything that you need to be entertained. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel here and give me a thumbs up. But yeah, let's get back to it. So they're playing a song for her, and she's feeling real weird. She's like, this don't sound right. So she's looking at them and, looking back and forth. And then Remick, the main vampire, he's looking at her and he's drooling. And she's like, no, I'm good. So she tried to walk off and they get her and grab her and then they bit her, of course. So she comes back to the club. She comes back to the juke joint and Cornbread didn't even know she left. So that's very interesting too because Cornbread is at the door. But he didn't even know she left. So I don't even know which door she went out of or how she even left anyway. That part is real strange to me now that I think about it. Because when she came back, he was like, when did you leave? And she was like, oh, I had went out just to go talk to them and see what was going on with them, making sure everything was okay. And he was like, oh, okay. And so she was like, can I come in? He was like, yeah, come on. So he allowed her to come in. And they kept doing that. Everybody who came to the front door of this juke joint had to be allowed in. They had to be invited in. They all asked, can we come in? That was like a whole tone. They kept saying, can I come in? Can I come in the party? Everyone was asking, which I'm pretty sure there's a message there. I'm thinking pretty much like maybe people have choices. It's like say you meet a new friend, right? So, for example, I got a lot of examples, but for example, so I was working on at this place for this company and I met this woman and I'm just a friendly type of person, but until you start making me feel real weird and then nah, I'm the type of person that I'm just going to cut you off because it's no need wasting time. I already got the weird feeling. So I'm if I try to fix the problem with you, I'm wasting time. I need to be focusing on me. So I don't have time for that. So I don't try to fix people. I either like you or I don't like you. I either deal with you or I'm not dealing with you, right? So it was this lady that I met. And I attempt to befriend her because I'm a friendly person, or I can be. And, I'm talking to her and I'm telling her my story, that my husband passed away, my sister passed away. And, I'm thinking she's just here to be a friend or whatever, to understand me. And then we talk about business or whatever. But she kept bringing up my situations. Like she would say stuff like, oh, well, I know your husband passed away. I know you must be feeling real sad. I know that got to make you feel real down and out. And I'm like, I do have my days that I'm sad, but no, I'm actually okay. She was telling me that she's actually in therapy. And, she talked about herself being in therapy a lot. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, that's good. At least you're getting the help that you need. But in my opinion, everybody don't need therapy. I don't need therapy. So I felt like that was probably like a little jab, or maybe she kept saying that to hint at the fact that maybe I might need therapy. But everyone doesn't need therapy because everyone, I don't mean no harm to, I don't mean no offense to anyone. Everyone isn't that weak. Now, I was definitely weak that year of and the year after. I was definitely weak, but I had family to talk to and to get through my pain and my traumas with. So it didn't leave me alone and abandoned. where I just couldn't do nothing for myself and I was going crazy. And, no, my thoughts have always been very positive. I've always been naturally a very positive person. So I always find a way to turn a bad situation around so that I could keep going. And that's just how I live my life. I always live my life like that. So, but for her, I'm like, okay, well, maybe she just doesn't understand how people grieve. Maybe she just don't understand. So I'm gonna give her a pass, right? Because you got three chances with me. Once that third chance is done, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. That's all. That's it, and that's all, right? So I talked to her again, and she's like, "Oh, well, I was talking to my sister, and I know you lost your sister, and I probably shouldn't even brought my sister up. I'm so sorry." I was like, what is she talking about? Like, what are you talking about, ma'am? Like, I'm around people who have sisters and husbands all the time, and that don't make me feel sad because they have their sister and their husband. Like, what are you thinking? I never even made this person feel like I was the type of person who would just break down at a drop of a dime, when I hear about somebody who has their sister or somebody who has their husband. That's not me at all. Like, I'm all for the love and everything. That's your situation. You're talking about you. I'm going to celebrate you, but she turned it around and it was just like, girl, what? I mean, that was extremely weird. So that was two. That was the second time. I was like, okay, no. I was like, one more time, and I'm done. So the third time, I was telling her about a business I was going to start, and she was like, mind you, she wasn't even working on the job. Okay, hold on. Let me close this door because my dog done came busting in the room. I need to close my door because I'm doing a lot of talking. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So, um, so I'm telling her about this business that I'm starting, and she's like, "Oh, well, you think you ready for that?" She knew that I was in a class that was preparing me to start the business, and she was like, "Well, you're gonna do that? What you gonna do about the job you're on? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you think that's the best idea?" And I was like, "Yeah, I already took the class. I know what I need, and I could get that stuff done so I can have my own business. So why not?" And it was just like, okay, see, I don't have time in my life. I don't have time to make other people see my vision for my life or for my future. So that's the third strike right there. I'm done. I'm out. And it actually probably were a whole bunch of more times that I could account as the third time and, striked her out a long time ago. But, I was really trying. I was really trying because I'm the type of person who, if I don't feel right about a person, I'm not going to deal with you at all. I'm not. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to know that I don't like you. I don't care for you. And I'm not fooling with you or dealing with you. That's just it. And that's all. But I've always been that type of way. And even my children have told me, like, "Mom, you don't like nobody." And I'm like, I do like people. It's just if I get a bad feeling about somebody, I'm not messing with them. I'm not going to give you an opportunity to do something to hurt me. And then I have a story to tell or, some trauma or some pain or something. No, I could already tell if I don't need you in my space like that. But some people can't. Some people can't identify the people's representative versus the actual person. Some people like being abused mentally or physically by other people. For some people that's like a coping mechanism or something for them. But for me, I'm not with that. If it don't feel right, I'm done. I'm out. I'm good. I'm over it. I don't need a friend. I don't need any more friends. I have my family. I deal with them. That's hard enough all by itself, but they my family. They're going to always be here. So it is what it is. But I was just saying that to say that, a lot of people can't discern people like that. And they end up getting themselves in situations and they're like, how did I get here? And it's because, oh my goodness. And it's because you're in that situation because you ain't using your discernment. You just accepting any and everybody in, and that's how you can get your feelings hurt, or that's how you can get hurt. And in this movie, people were feeling like they shouldn't have came to this juke joint. They were feeling like that, but yet they still came anyway. Like the married woman, she was married. She had a whole husband, okay? And she out here wanna get with the young boy, and then okay, let's get back to it. So Annie, she comes back. She's back in the club. She's all the way in the juke joint at this point. Right now, she done been bit. She a vampire. So no one knows. So she sees Stack and she's ready. She's being real sexualized. She's like on him real heavy and he can't take it. He can't take the heat. So they go to the back and they getting it on. So Delta Slim, he saw them go in the back, Stack and Annie. He saw them go in the back and he tells Cornbread at the door, like, And so Cornbread, like, man, hold my spot right here. Let me go use the bathroom real quick because I got to go use the bathroom. So Cornbread out there, he has to go outside because it ain't no bathroom on the inside of the juke joint because it's pretty much like a garage. So he goes outside and end up getting bit by the vampire. So by this time, Delta Slim is at the door, old school. He at the door and he just waiting on Cornbread to get back. So Smoke, he's in the club and he's like, where's a situation happened. Two people got into a fight. One person got cut with a razor on his face, and Smoke was like, where's Stack? I need my brother. And Sammy was like, oh, Stack is in the room with Annie, but in that back room with Annie, but they in there, getting it in, and I'm not gonna bother them. So Smoke like, oh no, I'm going in there. So Smoke goes in there, and Annie had done bit Smoke on his neck, and he's just bleeding. It's just spitting out. All the blood is just spitting out. So Stack, so Smoke, he's standing at the door. He just starts shooting at Annie. He used all his bullets in two guns. He pulled out two guns and just starts shooting it. Now, she a vampire, so of course, she went down, and then it took her a while, and they're like, what's going on? Everybody hear the mess. The ex come to the door. She's like, what's going on? She could see what's going on, that blood is coming out of Stack's neck when he's on the floor because Annie was on him, riding him, and Annie was face down, and then she gets up and runs out of the juke joint real quick. So quick, she flew past everybody and she was able to get up out of there, right? So now they trying to figure out, okay, what in the world is going on? Smoke is hurt because, of course, his brother is now, he knows he's about to pass away. So, so Delta Slim, he gets everybody up out of there, which is what he shouldn't have did. He shouldn't have got everybody out there, but they didn't know what was going on. So he got everybody out the club because, Slim and, Smoke and Stack, they have a whole gangster type of rebellious reputation. So that's why I felt like they were trying to quietly get everybody out, calmly get everybody out of the juke joint without causing a whole bunch of mess and commotion, letting everybody come see, that Stack had got bit in the back. they didn't want everybody to see that. So everybody heard the guns, but instead of running anyway, they all stayed in the club, which I thought that was strange, because I hear some shooting going on. I'm be trying to get up out of there, unless they thought it was coming from outside. I don't know. Anyway, so they tell everybody to get out, go home, be safe or whatever. And so, of course, all the people who are in the juke joint are going outside with the vampires. So, of course, what you think happened to the people? So they realized that Stack was bit by Annie. She must have been a vampire because she got shot a whole bunch of times and she got back up. And she bit Stack on the neck. And so they like, okay, all right, well, we gotta shut this juke joint down. We gotta shut it down. So close the doors. So they end up locking Stack in the room and giving Sammy the key. So they're in the bar trying to figure out what is all going on. They in the juke joint trying to figure it all out, right? Stack is locked in the room. They got the doors closed and everything. They just trying to figure it out. So next thing they know, they hear Stack knocking on the door. And then he started beating on the door. And then he had a knife. So he put his knife through the door. And he's like, let me out. Let me out, man. Now they just saw him pass away in the room. So now he done woke up and they like, so the ex is like, oh no, he's a vampire. Okay, he got that demonic spirit in him. Ain't nothing we could do about that. He is not one of us anymore. He is not a regular human. So they in there, okay, trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we get rid of these vampires? And then now what we're going to do with Stack, because, that's Smoke brother, his twin, not just his brother, but his twin, and they do everything together. They're super close. So they trying to figure it out. So the ex, the voodoo lady, I guess you could say, she's like, okay, so they're vampires. So what we do with vampires, we have to eat garlic or put garlic on us, and then use a stake and put the stake in his heart to kill him, right? So they figure out, okay, that's the plan. That's what the plan is. So okay, that's what we're gonna do. Bet, right? So Stack is bamming on the door and Sammy has the key to the door, so he's there making sure that Stack doesn't get out the room, even though there's nothing he could do. So anyway, Stack is bamming at the door and he ended up breaking the whole door down, and he was going to go after the first person he saw, but the voodoo lady, or the ex, and I call her the voodoo lady because she put that little protection pouch together um to protect Smoke. mm, Dang, I just thought about something too. But anyway, so that's why I call her the voodoo lady, because I forgot her name. But anyway, so she gets a jar of garlic, pickled garlic, and she douse, um, douses it on Stack. So it burns him and he takes off running. He unlocks the door and opens the front door and leaves out the front door of the juke joint, which I thought was strange because he busts down the room door, but then he opened the door and unlocked it and opened it to get out of the juke joint so he can get back with his clan. Mind you, at this point, everybody who went outside who was in the club are now all vampires. Okay. So it's like, oh my goodness, it's about to go down. So I'm trying to figure out, or they're trying to figure out, how do we get out of this mess? So everyone's panicking and upset. They don't know what to do. Everyone's blaming themselves. Everyone's blaming themselves. And so Sammy, the young guy, he says, well, this is all my fault. because my dad told me, which his dad is the pastor, this is the preacher's son, right? Sammy, the young guy. He says, my dad told me that the devil was going to be following me today because I'm playing music, this, what you call the music, the secular music, in the juke joint. And he told me the devil was going to be calling me or following me. And so, but everyone's blaming themselves. So they like, no, it's not your fault. We don't know. We didn't cause, you didn't, it's not because of you that the vampires came here. But actually, I guess it was because they get a knock at the door. So they like, what can we do? What are we doing? Like, why are they knocking at the door versus just coming in? So they're thinking about the vampire movies. Like, what happened? Okay, we have to invite them in. That's why they can't just come in, because they have to be invited in. So they open the door. So of course they got weapons. Smoke got guns and stuff. They got um what you call the rifles. They got rifles, they got guns, they got it all, right? So they open the door, and Remick, the head vampire, he's at the door, and um he's like, yeah, Sammy, it's because of you, because he's a vampire, mind you, right? So he already knows what, I guess they can like hear, and they can sense what's going on with the person and all. So he probably heard Sammy say, that it's because of him. But I feel like it could have been because Sammy started singing in the juke joint. And he was singing, when he was singing, it was so soulful. It was like a old man voice, but this is a young guy. It was like a like one of them old Negro spirituals, type songs going on. And it was real deep and spiritual. And when he was singing, it was so loud, and they were like stomping. So it was like a whole vibe going on in the club, right? At that time, they showed a lot of different genres of music, like rappers, the people who do the what you call it when they do the twisting on the floor of their body and stuff. What do you call that? Um, the people doing the what? I don't know. Anyway, they even had like the twerking, the people who do the twerking. They start like pretty much combining all types of music together so that you can understand that all this music is spiritual, all of it. But they were doing like black music, so it was like gospel, soulful, R&B, hip hop, rap. It pretty much was like a mixture. You can see in the club all different people, even like African people, like the tribes and stuff. They showed African people and tribes like the spirits in there, and they were pretty much, it was pretty much like past, present, and future at this time in the club when Sammy was singing, because it reminds you of that music all the same. And it reminds me of, how a lot of the songs nowadays, people remake the songs. So everything is like a remake, but they remake it and it makes it re-popular again because that was already a hit. So all you got to do is put a nice, rhyme, put some nice words to it, and the music is going to be a hit again. So it's still the same thing. You just put your soulfulness, your touch on it, and then you're going to make it a hit again for you during this time. So they showed like all, I don't know, I know I'm not explaining this well, but you pretty much have to see the movie to understand what was going on. So when Sammy was singing in the juke joint, it was so soulful. It was like it was almost conjuring up spirits, past, present, and future. Because they even had people doing twerking, had the ladies in there twerking, but it was like spirits almost. I don't know how else to explain that, but it was just showing like how all the music is one. It all comes from one. Even like the church music, the gospel music, because most of the gospel singers and stuff, hell, I think the devil supposedly was he started in the church, was playing gospel music. He wanted to sing, but he got kicked out of the church or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a Bible person, but I believe it's something like that. That's how that story goes. So, of course, this spiritual is all one, but music, it showed you how powerful music is. Music can heal, it can hurt. It can be a way to release pain. It could be a way to bring pain. Music can do a lot of different things. And it showed that, and during that time when Sammy was singing, I believe it was so soulful that it conjured up the vampire to come there to them. So anyway, so Remick, the vampire, is at the door, and the first thing he says is, Sammy, we want you. Give us Sammy, which is the youngest person in the group. And he says, Sammy, we want you. Give us Sammy, and we'll leave y'all alone. Now, we don't know if that would have been true or not, because you can't trust the devil. The devil ain't going to tell you his plan, because he's not supposed to tell it. Just like you're not supposed to be telling your plan, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, because people will find a way to stop you from making that happen. Or they'll break you down to the point where you won't even make your own dreams happen because you up here listening to their doubtful selves. But anyway, so I felt like when the vampire heard Sammy singing, he realized that if I get that blood right there from him, because with the younger generation, they're the ones that hold the power, because they can make the change happen. They could change everything because they get the opportunity with them young selves to live this life and go through all the stages and decades that all the older people done already went through and made whatever happen. Now they get a chance to reboot and make things happen all over again. So I feel like Remick the vampire, he wanted that young energy, because in blood there's energy, there's oxygen, there's also memory in blood. That's why you have bloodlines. And usually in bloodlines, like, I don't know about you, but I know, like, in my family, I've said before about certain people that, you remind me of such and such, a older family member, or you're like an old soul or something, stuff like that happens in families. And I'm sure that's families of all culture, because blood holds memory. And that memory doesn't die, just like our soul doesn't die. People, the flesh dies, but the people does not die, y'all. That's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into all that and get real deep. Let me get back to the message here in the movie. But the vampire, he wanted Sammy, which was the youngest one. He wanted him bad. Like, it's crazy, that he wanted him so bad. And Sammy was saying he was already feeling like, oh, he want me because my dad said he was going to want me. But actually, I feel like the vampire wanted him because he heard that soulfulness. And when Sammy was singing, it was so soulful. I feel like he conjured them to come there. But Remick also said that once he got the couple, the husband and wife, once he turned them into vampires, he found out that they were the family members of the white guy who sold that land and that barn to the twins. And he said they were going to come back. They're coming back in the morning to kill y'all anyway, or to delete y'all anyway. So you think you got this property and you paid your money and you're not going to have any problems, but they're Klansmen and they're coming back to kill you anyway, and whoever's here. And that was their plan all along, to steal your money and, take this property right back. So you might as well become a vampire that way you can live forever, and you can, you know, make other people vampires, or, delete who you want to delete. So it's like they're giving, Remick was giving them all the option. Like, you could be a vampire like me and live forever and don't have to worry about dying, or you can, you know, just be deleted, and it won't be your choice. So you can choose to love it or not. Either way, it's going down. Like, you're going to be a vampire. That's pretty much what Remick was saying. So yeah, it gets real deep, right? So they were like, nah, we gonna fight our way out. We gonna fight through this. They slammed the door, closed the door, and they're back in there, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do? How can we get out of this? So the voodoo lady slash the ex of Smoke, she's like, we could wait till sunrise. If we'll be good if we could just hold it out until sunrise. So of course, Remick is not having that. He already know that when sunrise come, they gonna be burnt or, deleted anyway. So he got to get in there. So they end up kicking the door in, and they end up going in. So of course, Smoke, the his ex, who else was left in there? The Asian woman. I'm not sure if I got into the Asian woman really in here. But if not, I definitely get into it in part 2, which I'm gonna do tomorrow. But the Asian woman and Delta Slim, he was in there. Who else was in there? The married woman, she was in there. Sammy was still in there. So they had broke a whole bunch of chairs, carved out some pieces to make some daggers so they can stab these vampires in the heart, because they said, garlic and the daggers are the only way that they can defeat them, because shooting them with the bullet is not going to get rid of them. You have to put a dagger through their heart. So yeah, so they already had weapons and stuff. So, oh, before the vampires kicked the door in, oh no, they kicked the door in, and Delta Slim told everybody to go run upstairs and get ready. But he said he gonna hold them off as long as he can down here. They go upstairs and get ready for battle, pretty much, right? So they like, no, no, Delta Slim, like, nah, this how it's going, all right? Y'all go ahead. I'm going to handle them down here. I'm going to hold them off as long as I can. Y'all go ahead and get prepared and get ready. So he knew that they were going to, eventually take him out, because it's more of them than just his one little self. But he was trying to give them time to run and get away. Even though it pretty much wasn't no way to get up out of that mess, because it wasn't enough for them to get rid of the vampires. And you pretty much can't kill a vampire. So how are you going to get rid of vampires? So they knew they were all pretty much stuck until sunrise came, right? So, of course, the vampires all come in. Of course, they delete Delta Slim, get rid of him. And then they go upstairs, pretty much delete everybody, including the ex, Smoke's ex, which that hurt him to his heart, just like it hurt him to his heart when his brother passed away. But his ex had told him, she had already told him, now if they get me, go ahead and take me out, because I don't want to be a vampire. She said, take her out before she turns into a vampire, because she wants to go be with her child that passed away anyway. And she said, I'll be waiting on you on the other side when you get here. And so he already agreed to it. So once the vampire had bit her, then he went ahead and put a dagger in her heart so she wouldn't turn into a vampire. And of course, Stack was in there, and he was like, no, he the vampire now. But he was like, why would you do that? Why would you not let her transform? And, of course, him and Smoke going at it. They're beating each other up. They're fighting Stack wanted to bite him, but he never did bite him. And then somehow Smoke was able to tell Stack to let Sammy go. Leave Sammy alone. Just make sure they leave Sammy alone. So anyway, everybody is pretty much deleted at this point except for Sammy and Smoke. Smoke. I know I'm tired. Yeah, Smoke. Because I'm like, what is that his name? But yeah, so everyone's deleted. That's not vampires except for Sammy and Smoke. So the main vampire, Remick, he gets Sammy and he drags him all the way outside and he's beating him up, and then he gets him in this river. And then Sammy had his guitar, and on his guitar was like this metal piece, and he hits Remick in the head with the guitar, and it gives him some time to turn the other piece of the guitar, the handle around, and then he stabs Remick in the heart. And then of course the sun rise, so then all the vampires, they burn up, but they don't die, they just disappear for a while, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, so they all burn, they all there burning, even Remick, he burns, and now he's deleted for now, I assume. And then Sammy and Smoke is the only ones left. Whew. Not having anyone to talk to while doing this video right here has made me very sleepy and tired. But we're at the end. So anyway, so Sammy's like, okay, we need to get up out of here, you know. And Smoke is like, nah, I ain't going nowhere because I got somebody, I got some business to handle. So Smoke still remembered that the guy who sold him and his brother the property is a KKK member, and they supposed to be coming back that morning to delete them, right? So everyone's gone, everyone's deleted, but they don't know that. So he's like, nah, I got a whole bunch of weapons. So he gets this this thing full of weapons out of the trunk of the truck. Or it's like a trunk full of weapons. Him and Sammy gets that out. He gives Sammy keys to a car. Sammy drives home, well, drives to his dad's church because it's Sunday. So I guess that was Saturday night. Now it's Sunday. Sammy had told his dad he'll be home. He'll be back for church in the morning anyway. So he drives to the church, goes to the church, and his dad is like, come here, son, I told you about being in that church. They're having church service, but no one moves, no one looks like they're fearful or anything. And it's all weird because no one acts shocked by Sammy's appearance. So Sammy's still holding on to this little piece of guitar because that's his lifeline pretty much at this point. And it actually saved him because he was able to use that to stab the main vampire, even though the sun rising pretty much killed him because he got burnt anyway. But so his dad is like, the preacher, he's like, son, you need to leave that alone. You need to leave that secular music alone. You need to just give yourself to God. Just stay in the church. Let that let that guitar go. So Sammy played the guitar when he's singing stuff. So anyway, they cut and they go back to Smoke at the juke joint. So Smoke done closed up the juke joint. So he got all the doors closed. He got all the doors locked. So the man who sold the juke joint, the white guy who sold the juke joint and the property to Smoke and Stack, he comes with truckloads of people, right? And they come with weapons, guns, and all. They come to take them out, but they don't know what happened. So they don't even see the mess. They are outside of the juke joint. So they start banging on the door, and one guy said, "Oh, they want answer. Oh, we gonna shoot this place up." So the next thing you know, Smoke is in the woods, like he's a soldier. Like I don't know if Smoke was in the army or something, or if he been watching some Rambo movies, but he was on the ground in the woods that was right across from the the juke joint, and he just started shooting. I mean, he like got machine guns and stuff, and he's shooting them all up. So, they're trying to figure out where the shots are coming from, but he done shot up most of the people. So he shoots up everybody all by himself with all his weapons because he had them all on him and stuff. It's like he was already prepared for war. And good thing he did have the weapons, because he would have been gone and they would have been alive. That's back to what I said about, this is a war. And he could have left. He could have left town. He could have been on the road, headed back to Chicago. And these people wouldn't have even known. They would have thought he was in there. And that would have saved him time to get out of town and all. But you know what Smoke said? Nah, we ain't about to do that. Okay, nah, I'm gonna get they behinds. And I was like, yeah, get them. Because if you don't get them, they gonna get somebody else. If you don't cut off the head of the cancer is gonna continue to spread. You gotta cut it off at the head. So Smoke was like, I'm with the mess. Okay. So nah, I'm gonna take all y'all out. Even if he had to go down in the process, he made a name for himself. And I appreciate him doing that. And I appreciate Ryan Coogler for letting that go down, because I told y'all at the beginning of this that I wanted to see Michael B. Jordan when he was playing Killmonger in the Black Panther. I wanted to see him in action. I wanted to see him in his true, you know, deletion mode. I wanted to see him doing all that because that's part of his character. That's what he does. And they have villains in the Marvel movies all the time. So I like to see what the villains are capable of, because that makes the villains, that lets you know about the villains, right? So anyway, I got to see that in this. I mean, Smoke, he took them all out except for the owner, right? So the owner, he got shot and he was down on the ground, and Smoke was standing over him. And he asked the guy for a cigarette, and the guy was like, forget you, nigger, or whatever, something like that. Anyway, so Smoke was like, all right. So he pulls out the Uzi. And the guy, he goes in his pocket and he pulls out a cigarette. So Smoke, he gets a cigarette and he lights a cigarette, and somebody shoots him. I guess somebody who wasn't all the way dead, they still, or deleted, they had a gun, they shoot him. He shoots them, make sure they're dead or deleted. And then now he's shot, so he already know he's going down because he's shot in the stomach. It's not a hospital in sight. He's out there in cotton fields. Okay, so ain't no ambulance coming to save him or anything. So he already know he's done. But he wanted to save that that guy. That was going to be like his finale, his grand finale, right? So that could almost be like a type of corn for certain people. So anyway, so I guess he's in the process of transitioning to the other side, and he sees the voodoo lady slash his ex-girlfriend and his baby, and she's breastfeeding the child because it was the baby who passed away. So she's like, she tells him, you're gonna have to put that cigarette out before you get the baby because I don't want that smoke all on the baby. So he's looking and he's like, oh, okay. And then he hears the white guy. He's like, he said something to him. I can't remember what he said. Something to try to get his attention. And Smoke is like, he ain't with it. He picks up that gun and he just and he gets rid of the dude, right? And then he puts the gun down and he grabs his baby, and then you think the movie's over, right? So I should have said this at the beginning of the movie. When you think the movie is over, do not leave the movie theater, you guys. Do not. I'm the type of person, and anybody who goes with me to the movie theater already know. I'm waiting till those credits get run. Okay, they gotta run through all them credits before I get up out my seat. Matter of fact, they gotta turn the lights on. Once they turn the lights on, I know for sure that the movie is over, because usually they're not turning the lights on and there's still a lot of stuff going on, except for when I went to see the Black Panther. Especially Marvel movies, because Marvel movies do that. When you think they're over, they're not over. It's usually a little peek into the next movie that's coming up. They always do that. They'll run the credits and you'll think, oh, it's over. Let me get out here before the traffic gets bad. And then you'll miss that last little piece there. So no, so I'm sitting there because lights out, they're running the credits, and you're thinking, oh, the movie's done, but I know it's not done. So people are leaving from out the movie theater, and I'm like, it ain't over. I know it ain't over. So anyway, so after some of the credits roll, they show Sammy. So Sammy has been on tour. So Sammy was the young guy. He was, the young guy in the movie. So he's on tour and he done traveled all around the world. He done seen a lot of things, been a lot of places. And I believe he has a good bit of money. And I believe the last club they showed him in, he owned the club, because I don't know, he could just be, I don't know. I don't know if he owned the club or what. They didn't say that, but the bouncer who was at the door, he asked Sammy if he wanted to allow he says two people outside and they got $200. They want to get in the club. Should we let them in? I know the club about to close, but they say they really want to get in. Sammy says yes, they could come in. There we go again. It to me it's like, now you said you close. So why you gonna allow them people in and you supposed to be closing? It's like we gotta make better choices, right? But anyway, so the two people come in and it end up being Annie and Stat. Now, of course, they're vampires, so of course they didn't pass away, right? They just had to regroup or whatever, and now they're still vampires. So they come in and they all dressed to the teeth. So they looking like late 2000 right now. Okay, Stat got on a Coogee sweater. I mean, looking handsome. Okay, oh my goodness. Okay, looking good enough to eat. No, I guess that ain't cute, because talking about a vampire movie here. My bad. I ain't mean to say that. But anyway, so Michael B. Jordan's looking super good, okay? And Annie, she's all decked out, looking like a R&B chick or something. I don't know. She's looking down, right? She's got the gear on. They looking up to date, and they come in the club together. And so Sammy already knew who they was, of course, because they look just the same. Now, Sammy done got old because he is like real old. But he had some scars on his face from the fight with the vampire. I believe the vampire had long nails. He scratched his face. So he has those same scratches, but he was way older. He looked like he probably was 80s, 90s, or something like that, years old, in that range somewhere. So Stack, he smells Sammy. He's like, yeah, you ain't got that much long to go. He was like, but I could turn it all around. I can make you one of us, and you can get a second time around. And Sammy's like, you know what? That night, that day that everything happened, all those years ago, was probably the best night of his life. He said, he was like, it's that was the best night of my life ever, the best time I ever had before everything went down. Because remember, he ended up messing with the married woman who he was trying to get at anyway, and probably was his first piece. I don't know. But, that was his first time playing in a club. And he was actually good because people really liked him and he really could sing. But of course, he came from the church, so you already know he could sing, right? So anyway, Sammy's like, I don't want, he said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that life. I'm good. And so Stack said, I promised Smoke I wouldn't mess with you. I would leave you alone. And he stayed true to that. He put $200 bills on he slammed it on the at the bar on the counter, and he gave Sammy a hug, and he was like, all right. And then him and Annie, they walked out looking all fresh and clean and stuff, ready to attack, okay? Ready to do a sneak attack. And they just showed them walking out, and Sammy was still sitting at the bar. So I don't know what happened to Sammy, like, what, but I guess we got the idea that, even in his older age, he wasn't afraid of the afterlife or what was going to happen after he passed away, because I mean, he probably don't want to be no old vampire anyway. Like, if you're going to be a vampire, I wouldn't want to be a 80 or 90-year-old vampire though, because then that's the age you have to be for the rest of your life forever, right? So like, nah, I wouldn't even want that. Nah, I'm good, like. but yeah, so that was the end of the movie. So it was a lot of stuff in between that. Like I said, I definitely want to do a part 2 tomorrow, because it was a lot of stuff. Like, it was just so much stuff in there. And that's one of them type of movies you have to see like a couple of times to really get all the bits and pieces and put everything together. A very great movie. I know it took me a long time to get through the movie, but hell, the movie was 2 hours and 17 minutes. And so I was able to do this, and yeah, I don't know how long. I've been on here for a while, but almost 2 hours, ain't it? Yeah, I've been on here like an hour and a half or something like that, telling the movie. Hell, I pretty much done gave y'all the whole movie, okay? But so now this your first time hearing it, so now you get to see it, and now you get to really get some more details and get some more codes and stuff that I missed from this video. Because the movie was definitely a great movie. Okay, definitely a great movie. A lot of codes, a lot of spiritual annotations in there, and it's one of the movies that keep you woke. Keep you woke. Now I don't know if you're not woke, you're probably not gonna be trying to get woke anytime soon. But if you know, then you know, right? But yeah, very great movie. Y'all go check it out. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. I wanted to do this decode or this movie review because I just like doing stuff like that. When I watch a movie and I really like a movie, I really like a movie. I want to talk about it, So thank you so much for watching this. If you was able to get through the whole movie. If you was, I mean, get through the whole, look at me like I'm an actress or something. But if you was able to get through this whole video here, please leave me like a camera emoji. Yeah, a camera emoji in the comment section. Yeah, that'll be good. But thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I will be doing a part two because even though I told the movie, I still wasn't able to get into a lot of the spiritual stuff and a lot of the codes and the messages that was a part of this movie. So I want to get into that as well, but I have to do a part two because this one is already long as I don't know what. But thank you guys for watching again. Like I said, okay, another little doggy came in a room here. He's so sweet here. Oh, hey, boo boo. But yeah, let me wrap this movie review up. Again, you guys, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a message in the comment section. Let me know how you feel. Did you watch the movie? What questions do you have? And we'll talk about it. But I will be back with a part two. All right, you guys. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. Peace.